So where was I? Do we choose an HMO or do we choose a PPO? Well, to make this decision, we really simply need to understand, first off, what an HMO or PPO is, how they actually work, and then in addition to that, we also need to understand what's going to help us sleep better at night. Because if we can't hit the pillow and get some Z's, then we need to make sure that we make an adjustment. So with that said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button so that you are notified each and every time we post a fantastic video just like this one. And with that said, my name is Kevin Stevens Jr., formerly known as the Medicare Mogul, here to break down all things Medicare and make your life a lot easier. And with that said, let's get educated. Now, what is an HMO? What does it actually stand for, and how do they actually work? First off, an HMO stands for Health Maintenance Organization, and these plans are going to be administered to you from a private health insurance company. So when you have a Medicare Advantage plan and you choose a particular carrier, you're going to have an option to choose either HMO or PPO. Now back to what I was saying, when you have an HMO, Health Maintenance Organization, the way that it is working is you are going to have what's called a primary care physician, PCP for short. And when you have this PCP, this is basically your point of contact, the first person that you're going to communicate with each and every time you have something that you need to get handled with your medical situation. Now, that is not a bad thing. I'm here to tell you that that is actually a good thing. A lot of times folks will think that this is something that convolutes or complicate things. It doesn't actually do that, and I'm here to tell you why. Now, the way that it works when you have this HMO and you have your primary care physician as your point of contact, right? You're going to have to communicate with your primary care physician for each and every service, whether it be going to your primary care doctor or going to see a specialist. You will first have to get what's called a referral. The referral is when you communicate with your primary care doctor, tell her you have something going on, and then they will communicate with a specialist or outreach to a specialist. And the reason why that helps, and the reason why that's good for some folks, for my other folks that like flexibility, maybe this doesn't make sense for you, but the reason why that's important is because your doctors are communicating. And when they are communicating, they are talking back and forth in terms of your medical history and making sure that you are getting the proper care that you need, right? They're paying attention to your treatment plan. So that's actually important and that is helpful. However, again, you will have referrals and then you will also have to communicate with your primary care doctor. Now, in addition to that, when we have the HMOs, what we also have to be mindful of is we have to make sure that the plan that we are selecting covers our primary care doctor. We need to make sure that our doctor is actually in the network, right? We can't select a plan where our doctor is not in that network, because if our doctor is not in that network, in that managed care plan, we won't be able to see our primary care doctor, and that is actually a problem. So we first have to understand that we're going to need referrals. Our primary care doctor has to be in our plan, and then if we have any additional doctors such as a specialist like a podiatrist, a cardiologist, a nephrologist, but if we have any specialists, we need to ensure that these doctors are in network with our Health Maintenance Organization plan. We need to make sure that our HMO plan covers those doctors, okay? So just to recap, the HMO stands for Health Maintenance Organization. We are going to have to select a primary care doctor. We are going to need referrals when we have to go to see a specialist, and all our doctors must be in network. So our hospital and our primary care doctor must be in network to ensure that our care is taken care of properly when we select an HMO. In addition to that also, I'm sorry I forgot this guys, can't leave this out here, but your HMO is typically going to have higher benefits when we talk about Medicare Advantage plans. So for example, you may have a higher dental allowance on an HMO plan compared to a PPO plan because they're able to manage the care and keep you into that network. In addition to that, usually the maximum out of pockets are usually going to be lower on your HMO plans. And the reason that is because of the network. They're managing the facilities and doctors that you can go and see. Now, with that said, let's move on to PPO. What actually is the PPO? Well, first off, PPO stands for Preferred Provider Organization. Now, the way that this PPO is going to work, when you have a PPO, what it stands for is the PPO, you're going to have the ability to go and see any doctor. You don't necessarily have to select a primary care doctor. You don't necessarily have to wait for a referral. And the reason why that folks like this is because they can just go. Now, typically what you need to understand, right, when you have a PPO plan is that typically your maximum out of pocket is going to be higher because you have the increased flexibility to go in and out of network. Right now, you still want to make sure that your provider is in network when you have a PPO plan or when you select a PPO plan. But the good thing is it gives you the flexibility to go in and out of network. In addition to that, you do not need referrals. So if speed is of importance to you and you get a condition or you have some type of diagnosis and you need to absolutely see a specialist, you can go and see that specialist. As long as they're okay with billing your insurance company, your managed care plan, you will be able to go to see that specialist the next day, hopefully. If you are in a situation where you need a second opinion or you got some significant diagnosis, you can go and see that doctor immediately. Now, in addition to that, with PPOs, usually also what you'll have the ability to do is to see doctors out of network, like if you're traveling out of state. So typically a lot of folks that we talk to that are having to go out of state, they will actually choose a PPO because they travel for work or something like that. Now, an HMO gives you the ability to go to out of network as long as it's an emergency care, but a PPO, you can just go and see a doctor as long as they're okay with billing your insurance company. You can go out of network whether you're out of state. It'll help you do those things and facilitate your care in that capacity. Now, usually you'll have a higher cost, right? You'll have deductibles and higher copays on PPOs, as I mentioned previously. But again, some people are okay with that because it gives them increased flexibility. Now, we talked about two different options. We broke down what an HMO is, health maintenance organization, and we also broke down what a PPO is, preferred provider organization. I got it. Okay, perfect. Now that we have those two, we need to make sure that we make the best decision for us and we understand what's going to help us sleep the best at night. With that said, I hope this video helped. I hope this video was valuable to you in course in making your decision along your Medicare journey, and I hope to see you on the next one.